Hi, my name is Jacob Adams. I'm a fitness and leadership coach. I help people just like you get to the next level. Some of my friends have sometimes wondered how I became a yogi, a devotee of the Self-Realization Fellowship Church, and I think that warrants an explanation. So I wanted to get on here and make a video for you to tell you about my path into entering the yogi studies, the yogi philosophies, everything that encompasses yoga. You see, I was a bodybuilder for about 10 years. I was bodybuilding for about 10 years, and I found my body really tight. I really couldn't, get my arms behind my back and stretch, and I just was experiencing a lot of tightness. I was already teaching a lot of spinning classes, like 3 or 4 a week, or maybe 8 a week, and I was training clients and working out, and my body was getting really tight. So I took a yoga class, and I maybe had taken 1 or 2 before, but I did remember this one time I took it, and I remember feeling a sense of bliss. I remember saying to myself, I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to feel this way. I remember thinking that, like, why would anyone not want this feeling? It was a very distinct, blissful, state of mind, so relaxed. I remember being in an office with this other trainer, and his name was Adam, and I'm like, man, I just feel so relaxed, right? And that was my first experience with the whole mind-body union Zen feeling that yoga often gives us. And so that was that. Time went on, and then I started actually committing to 2 times a week. I started at my home. I did that for a few months, 3 months or so. And since I was already in the fitness industry, I decided to get on the journey of becoming a yoga instructor. About 6 months later or so, I started my first yoga certification and eventually started my own class. Started out very small, and I remember taking heaters eventually to my class because I got into hot yoga, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. In any case, that's what was going on, and I remember loving the feelings, and I was listening to a lot of Deepak Chopra, and I was getting into affirmations and meditation and the classes, and one day I was going to go see a concert in Dallas, and there was a class there I really wanted to try because I had bought a book by Bikram. He's a creator of Bikram Yoga, and I bought the book. I think I bought it before I got to Dallas. That's why I wanted to go take the class. So I got to Dallas, and sure enough, there was Bikram Yoga. And I did the class, but before I entered the class, there was a book on the shelf in the distance I saw. It said Autobiography of a Yogi. And I'm actually playing the digital copy that I got.
India, America, and Europe.
That's Ben Kingsley
I have found a deep and sincere
reading
interest in his message of liberating yoga. A written account of the master's life, even as he foretold.
So,
is now needed.
I started going through it. So I did my hot yoga that day, and then I got the book. So in any case, one day we were headed back from college to the workplace, to the gym, and we were in a car accident. And I was listening casually to the book, but I found myself after that car accident with more time because I was going to a chiropractor and needed some healing done for the car accident. And again, the whole car accident thing was, I was lucky to be alive, right? It was on the expressway. I did actually do yoga that day because I felt the best thing to do right now is to stretch and make sure my muscles aren't tight, right? So I did my yoga class that day of the accident. In any case, there I was listening to this book, Autobiography of a Yogi, and he started talking about Kriya Yoga, a Kriya meditation practice, and how there was different planets and different universes, basically parallel universes. I don't mean to talk out of sync here, out of line here. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, okay? That's not what I think about on a daily basis at all. it sounded so profound, really. That's the whole thing there. He was talking about Babaji, and Babaji, how like Babaji is this immortal yogi that lives around the Himalayas and is still alive to this day. Like, it was just profound concepts. And I guess I verbalize these things. I don't talk about these things ever. Like, it's not the kind of thing that I talk about ever. Like, I don't even think about it. I'm very much like, most people, we have things to do, work to do, things to tend to. So it isn't like I'm going around thinking about these cosmic fantasies or things like this. I'm just letting you know that's what got me interested. I was like, what is this guy talking about? And this is like 2006 or 2007, okay? And so there we were, going over this concept, and I was like, I really want to see what this Kriya Yoga is about, because I was already doing yoga, right? And so I really want to see what this Kriya Yoga meditation is about. And I put it on my to-do list, like a bucket list of sorts. I kind of felt like it was a bucket list. Like, one day I'll learn Kriya Yoga, because he really talks so highly about it. Like Yogananda in his book, he talks so highly of it. I didn't really even know how to go about that, and I still wouldn't. But I did go buy a book, like Man's Eternal Quest, about in 2008, which was also by Yogananda. And I actually found myself reading that book, and it really would shift like realizations or the love of God. Things that stick from that book are, I'm a child of God. Your father is the king, and you are a child of God. And things that I really hadn't heard in a long time. This is around 2008. I had left the church, a Christian church called The Door, around 2000. What is this? About 10 years prior, or 8 years prior, and I had left the church, and there I was at this stage of my life, willing to open my heart up to God again. And the writing was by Yogananda. I sometimes have let me get the book here. Here's a very similar book. It's called The Divine Romance. It looked just like this, but it was Man's Eternal Quest. And this is a collection of essays. And the book is so profound these books they're so profound that you really don't need a lot. I don't feel like I needed a lot to kind of shift some of my belief systems, because he talks so clearly and soberly, and he just gets right down to the brass tacks of belief in God and relationship with God. Yogananda's main message, typically in his lessons, is to meditate. Like, he's like, read 10%, meditate more. He's always speaking about meditation, and just sitting down with God. And it's such a simple idea that it's so challenging to do that it makes sense why he's always talking about it, because it's challenging to do. And I learned that through his lessons, right? So anyways, in 2008, I decided to do Kriya Yoga. It wouldn't be till like 2012 where I found myself living the life that I had created. Like, I was flying in and out from Houston down south to South Texas to build Evolution Training, which is literally this company here. Had my own team of trainers, and I was selling Advocare, training CrossFit, and things were going great. And then, I had a long distance relationship I tried to keep in Houston, but I couldn't do it. My priorities were not there. I found myself wanting to date around and, just not be fully committed to that relationship, okay? So eventually, the power struggles came to play that are often common in many relationships. It might be even common in your relationship. And the power struggles were surfacing. And so I was like, let me just cut this. I did what I thought was the healthiest thing to do, is to cut the relationship. And I did. And thereafter, because one of the last things I read during that phase was, your time will come. And when it does, you will ask yourself, did I make time to get to know God? And that floored me. That day on my chair, it floored me, because I knew that it made sense that one day my life would end. And it made sense to me that I probably, no matter what anyone says, at that moment, I would have asked myself, did I even make time to get to know God in this life? And so I committed. I fulfilled my promise that I decided to myself in 2008 to start this meditation practice. For whatever reason, it's almost like things aligned perfectly. I got online, and there was the application sort of just easily found, apply for lessons. and to learn the teaching of Kriya. I was like, okay, sure. But you see, like, there was a big, it was like almost like a divine appointment of sorts. None of that was planned at all. Like, none of it. The book I would carry around with me, leave it in my office. Like, none of this was predestined or preordained or something that I had written down on my schedule. It was all like collective chance, subconscious synchronicity, Carl Jungian, soulful, spiritual type stuff. Like, I could not replicate that situation again. I would not be able to replicate the tensions, the revelations, the impact, the decision. I could not. So here I am. It's 2012 now. And remember, I decided to take Kriya lessons or stand on Kriya in 2008. So I broke up with my girlfriend from Houston, and I started telling this other woman that I used to date before. I was like, I'm going to do this Kriya Yoga thing. I'm single now, et cetera, et cetera. And I think I remember the shift in her when I told her that. Like, it was as if to say, she could tell, like, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, right? And I think she could tell that things were shifting within me and that my ego was subsiding. And I think that was her moment to sort of take advantage of that. Like, oh, he no longer has his guard up. He no longer has his guard up. And I think she took advantage of that for a while. And 2 years passed by, and we started arguing, and there was power struggles once again. But this time it was because I think my ego was so downtrodden, and I was sort of sad on some level for the breakup I had just gone through. And my ego is now down. And here we are going through these like weird fights, these weird power struggles that wouldn't end. And so then I get an email from the Society by Neil Strauss. And in that, he gives me a challenge to become a best life artist. In other words, somebody that's really designing their best life. And I'm like, wow, okay, I'll apply for this. I want to be a best life artist, right? I would love to be that. It sounds great. Have my best life. Again, keep in mind that the contrast is, here I am. It's now 2014. Two more years have passed, and I have not stuck to my commitment to meditate. And then I go to California for this seminar, for this big seminar. I take a chance, and one of the things that I had decided to do is we are exposed to this exercise in finding our hierarchies. For example, hey, what's one thing you want? Like, say me, I said a Lamborghini. Okay, why do you want a Lamborghini? What would that make you feel? I would feel exhilarating. Okay, why do you want to feel exhilarated? What would that do for you? I would feel, so you get to the core of it. Like, I would feel like just alive. Why do you want to feel alive? Man, I want to feel alive because that's just what it's about. Okay, so then my value is to feel alive, right? So then, and then what you do is you analyze, you get all your values down, and then you rank them in order of the most importance. My most important thing was enlightenment. Now, my first thing that I wanted to get to enlightenment, hope I'm not losing you, was to go to the beach, to live on Miami South Beach. And it's because I just felt so connected to God, right? So like, wow, this is the place. It was a beautiful tropical place, connected with God. I had gone there. And there I was, enlightenment. So I was like, okay, enlightenment. And I've committed to meditate. And meditation is about enlightenment. And here I am with this goal. And so I said, okay, look, I don't know what to do. Well, if that's my value and that's what I'm after, let me go ahead and begin meditation. And I started a 60-day meditation practice. Eventually, the arguments with that last girlfriend started going up and down, and eventually we just came to the point where it's like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I'm going this way, you're going this way. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. And it was just getting toxic. I probably would be dead right now if I hadn't let that relationship go. And I succeeded in the meditation. I moved to Austin in 2015 and started going to this realization fellowship church there. I made some progress, and I really found the relationship with myself a lot deeper. Started really getting deep into my own heart and my own sadnesses, my own compassion, my own meditation practice. And things still weren't perfect. It wasn't until 2016 where I got to get into like the actual practice of meditation for the whole year in 2017. And here we are, 2018, and I've applied for Kriya Yoga twice, and I don't do the energization exercises. Keep in mind, I got that lesson for energization exercises in 2012. I'm barely doing them now, like 6 years later. I like to tell people, I've come into yoga and meditation kicking and screaming, especially meditation. I've come into meditation kicking and screaming. Like, you got to understand, 2008, it's been 10 years, and I'm applying, and because it just takes so much humility and calming the mind and just doing and trusting the process that it's tough. It's tough, like for somebody that is used to doing their own thing, their own agenda, their own thoughts, their own wills, following their own. Like, there's so much that had to release and trust God and search for God and peace within. Okay, so here we are, 2018. I plan to apply for Kriya Yoga one more time, and if I don't get initiated this year, or whatever, that's fine too. Like, I'm already where it's like, I'm fine. I'm trusting the process, and that took a lot to even get to there. So yeah, that's my current. You accept the guru, or accept Yogananda as your guru once you do get the Kriya teaching initiation. Like, that's what you're agreeing to accept. And that's again, like, I was the last person to say or talk like that. It wasn't like, it's not been easy to even get to this point at all for me. Like I said, I think I've come into yoga kicking and screaming, and it just seems like it's the one path that continuously nurtures me and is patient with me and helps me feel love for myself and really trust myself. Like, that's the biggest ideas there that are big. They're huge ideas, but they're just so simple to say. And I think that we're in those times where, we can sometimes say those things, but it's becoming more and more important to really act from that place of soul. And so it's not just how it used to be, where people could just say it and like not necessarily dig deep to that truth. We're coming from that place where we really need people like yourself and myself to awaken and be really, really sincere people on all levels. And from that truth, we can start walking forward. Okay. If you would like to subscribe to those lessons, go to Self-Realization Fellowship.org or Self-Realization Fellowship Church. I'm sure you'll find the lessons. Apply for lessons. I think my sister is applying. In any case, there's really nothing wrong. If you are meant to apply, if you're meant to do these lessons or whatever, you will. If you're not meant to, you won't. It's not the kind of thing anyone could ever force you to do, whether you get the lessons or not, or decide to meditate or not. It's one of those things that no one can ever do for you. You have to come from a very sincere, humble place. And if you do, great. If you don't, that's great too. It's your own personal journey. I'd love to hear your position, your thoughts, your comments or questions. This is Jacob Adams. We'll see you next time. Bye.